Old Man Sarge, back again. It's September 14th, 2024. Kind of got a white beard going on here, so probably gonna have to shave it off though in the next day or so. My wife, my family's been sick. I haven't. We've kind of arranged a stay away little program, so I've been able to stay healthy so far. But there's somebody at work that's exhibiting the same symptoms, so it's probably a pretty good chance I'm going to end up with whatever everybody has around here. This is a hobby update. I'm just letting you know kind of where I'm at with some of my projects and what's going on. As I think I showed these before. Let's see if I have all of them. Yeah, there are most of them right there. Okay. So one of the things that I was doing was I was reading the Dawnbringer series. It's not much to read, to be honest. It's there's a little bit of a story and things going on in it. And at the very back they have regiments of renown for different factions. And I think in one of my previous videos I talked about, well, what do you do? Do you still have these abilities? Of course you don't. They actually have those abilities listed in the Regiments of Renown on Warhammer Community's website. So if you want to bring one of the Regiments of Renown that's in here, you would just go there, and they still have the same ones that was in the Dawnbringer series. But so I've read the book, the first book, and I'll go back to this one in just a second. And then I read the second book, and there isn't much in the back of the second book. There's just stuff about Trug, and then there is their introduction to the Maw, the big orcs on their big giant boars, so the Maw Gruntas. And then there's a few other things, but it was like an introduction basically to that faction. And then they just talked about kind of Trug going around and being destructive, and some things about the King Broad's expedition, basically destroying all the little people. And now I'm on the third book, so I just started reading this one, The Long Hunt. And on the back of this book they have some of the Black Talons, Regiment of Renown. They have Ionis, Cryptborn, which is it's basically kind of have like a Space Marine chaplain on a dragon. It's kind of what it is, but it's a Stormcast chaplain or priest on a dragon. And then they give you the stats for him. He, of course, is brought into the 4th edition, so you can actually take him. And then they have Belthanos, which is a tree on a giant bug. And they give you the stats on him and talk about... he's actually in 4th edition now, too. They've got a whole unit of trees, in fact. So that's what's in this book. And then there's 3 more after this. There's the 4th, the 5th, and the 6th. And they're all a little bit different, obviously. I have, of course, delved into the Leviathan for 40K. I haven't really done a whole lot on it. I think I primed the models, but I haven't actually started painting them yet. That's a pretty big project, because it's Ultramarine, Space Marines, and I have to learn how I have to read and learn about what the designations on the shoulders are for each one of the units in that box, so that I can be as accurate as I can. And I'm doing the 4th company, which is Uriel. Can't remember his name, but he basically, I just decided to do that, and the colors are blue and green. But I don't know when I'm going to actually return to that project. What I'm doing right now is today I'm preparing for the Fire and Jade Spearhead Tournament, invitational tournament that I'm having next weekend, so next Saturday on the 21st. And I have to put together one more terrain set that came in the Fire and Jade boxes. I bought 2 additional boxes plus 2 of the Skaven Tide boxes, so I have 4 sets, so I can have 8 people play. And if I needed to, my friend said he would let me borrow another one so I could go up to 10. And we're just going to have a fun little tournament between factions that have already been decided, and people are going to roll dice to like draft the faction that they want, and then they'll play through it. And then so there's newer players, and then there's some more experienced players as well, so we're kind of trying to build the community. There's no cost to this for the players, and there's a little prize at the end just for somebody who would win the tournament, so you have something to drive for, but it's mainly just for fun. And I'll let you know what the factions are. So the factions that we're going to have, if I can remember them off the top of my head here, all of them, we'll have the Skaven, of course, and the Stormcast Eternals, Lumineth Realm Lords, Soulblight, which I'm putting together today. I'm going to finish assembling them today because they have to be ready by next week. Slaves of Darkness, and I'm trying to, there's 3 more. I'm trying to think of who they are. One of them's the Giants, the Mega Gaunts, that has the 3 giants. Oh, Seraphon was the other one, and there's one last one. So there'll be 8 factions. People will roll a dice, choose the faction they want to try. They'll play that through the tournament, and then that'll give them a feel for maybe an army that they wouldn't normally want to play. So that's what's kind of going on today. I'm doing some assembling. I've actually got more than that to assemble. I also will assemble, if time permits, Slaves of Darkness. Not the Dark Oath today, though. I will put them off for later. But I'm going to assemble potentially Brand's unit, which I think I talked about, at least in my mind. I don't know if I mentioned it to anybody here, why I'm taking Brand's regiment, or Brand's little unit. Because he has 2 heroes in it, and I was thinking, I was trying to like read on different websites to find out if you can actually separate all these heroes, and it appears that the Oathsworn are a unit together, and then they have listed Gunnar Brand as a separate unit, and then they have listed Sigrid Brand, his daughter, as a third unit. So you actually pay for all these and one for points totals, but my understanding is they operate independently, which is pretty cool, because it's actually like, you get a couple generals, a couple heroes, and then you get 3 units out of one buy. I thought that was pretty cool, because you could be taking flanks or doing other things with some of them, and then others of them can be working with the Dark Oath, which is, I've got 20 Marauders and stuff that come with the Dark Oath purchase box. I don't even know if they have in here exactly what comes with it, but it comes with the General, which I probably am not going to field, 3 of the Fell Striders, I think is what they're called, the Cavalry, or maybe it's 5, I can't remember, it's 3 or 5, probably 3, and then the Wild Fiend, and then 10 or 20 Marauders, and that's the force. So that'll be a regiment on its own. That's the plan anyway. I also have the endless spells for the I'll try to assemble these today. I don't know if I'll get to it, but the endless spells for the Slaves of Darkness. So, they're all on their sprues still, but now a lot of people say, well, why would you take these? Why don't you take Morbid Conjuration? I'm less of a min-max player. If I went to a tournament, maybe, but I'd probably feel pretty, I don't know, dirty. And I'm not saying people that do it are. I'm just saying that I would. I like to play with as much of that faction as I can, whichever faction it is. And then I got the terrain for the Slaves of Darkness, which is a Nexus Chaotica. It's not fantastic, but it's free, So I figure if you're going to have an entire army then you should have the endless spells, the terrain, and then whatever, you know, models that you're going to have with it. Now I do have Maggotkin and Nurgle. I've been resisting playing them. I have a friend that wants to play, and I've resisted playing them. And the reason is I did not have an endless spell for them because they don't have their own. So I would have to get the Malign Sorcery, which they're currently out of. You can buy it online, but you have to pay like $100 for the box instead of 80. So it's like much more pricey. People are buying these boxes and breaking up the spells and selling off the spells. And I'm kind of like, well, if I want it, I want the whole thing, and I can wait. So I'm not going to spend $100. I'll wait till I can spend 80. Plus, I have other projects that I'm working on, so I don't need it right this second. But I did get this, the Kron spine for the Maggotkin of Nurgle, so they have a endless spell. I'm in the process of painting it, as you can see. It's supposed to be fairly easy to paint, but I'm finding it like to get in underneath. I mean, maybe if you had an airbrush, it'd be really easy to do, maybe. I don't know, but it's just taking me a little more time than I expected. But it's not it's not a really big, huge problem. I'll just work on it. I don't think it's terribly complex to do. And so that's what's going on now, or that's what's been going on with my hobbying, preparing for these different things. I still have my ancients on the painting table. You know, I still have, I think, 8 hoplites, and I have a bunch of cavalry that is in the box. And I bought a unit of cavalry like back in July, like 2 months ago, and they still haven't arrived. But I'm communicating with the person who I purchased them from, and it's in transit, so hopefully it'll arrive in one piece and not all broken up. I'm always worried about that. Okay, but I have one big announcement to make. I finished Belekor, which was one of my projects for both Dark Oath, or pardon me, not Dark Oath, Slaves of Darkness, and I also did Belekor for 40K, so I could have my Demons of Khorne theme complete with Belekor. And you've seen, if you haven't seen my past videos, there's a video that I did on showing the Khorne army that I have, and my friend who painted it prior, he painted it dark, so dark blue, really, really dark blue, almost black, and instead of red. And so that fits perfectly in the theme of Belekor, because he's the Lord of Shadows. So I have Belekor ready to show you. So we'll take a look. I'll bring this over, and we'll take a look at Belekor. And I hope you can see it. I don't know if that light is too much. But this is Belekor, Lord of Shadows. And I think I did a pretty good job. I can turn the light off just so you could see it without the light. Maybe that'll be better. I don't know. I don't know if it's better or worse, to be honest. So we'll put the light back on. So Belekor is the Lord of Shadows. So the goal is to try to paint the figure so that he looks dark. But whenever you paint something dark, that's black, for example, there's still features. And so to bring those features to light, you have to use some colors to kind of bring those features out. And if you look at a black horse, a horse with black hair, that horse has, it basically has a sheen to it. It almost looks like there's like white on the horse, but it's not. It's black, but the way the sun hits it makes it appear like white. And so it's really strange that you would paint a black figure with white features to it, but that's kind of what you do, or what I've been told you do, to kind of make it look realistic with a black feature character. I'm going to get a chair real quick so I can talk a little more about Belekor. So Belekor, when I painted him, The tutorials I read or watched basically talked about creating like features that would be more of a white or a light gray. And then, you know, you might have like two different shades of gray that you would work on for the areas that would be like on his talons or his claws or whatever. But then maybe you wouldn't put those and draw attention to those locations. Maybe you would just draw attention to the chest. You know, it's just kind of what I did. So the chest is a little lighter than like the claws are. The other things that draw light or color to this model is the purple on the loincloth and the metal on his armor plates, and then the chainmail on his loincloth, and there's also skulls throughout the model. And then I paid close attention to trying to get the depth of the lava as good as I could to make it stand out, because you have such a dark model. You kind of want like areas of light that will just make it look, I guess, better. I don't know how else to explain it. And then you got his sword, which has a green sword, so it's like, because it's like the sword of shadows, I guess, is what it's called. I can look at the exact names of what these things are. And some people say that in Age of Sigmar he's like arguably the best like stat line or scroll in the game. I don't know if that's true, but I have it here. So it's called the Blade of Shadows. So Blade of Shadows, not sword, Blade of Shadows. And then you have these chains in his wings. So those all bring light to the model of a very dark model. So I'll go ahead and flip him so that you can, or I'll turn this on so you can kind of see all the way around. There isn't a ton to see on the backs of Belekor because you know, it's really dark, but there are some silver like spots where his chains are hooked into his wings. So here's the stat line on Belekor. So his Blade of Shadows has 8 attacks, hits on a 3, wounds on a 3. This, by the way, is for Age of Sigmar. It has 2 rend and 2 damage, and it crits auto wounds. So 2 rend is pretty decent, because that means you're not going to really have a ton of defense against this. He also has his Fell Claw and Spear Tail, which is just 2 attacks, and it's 2+2+, 2 rend, 2 damage, and if he charges it's +1 damage, so it's going to be 3 damage instead of 2. So he can do quite a bit of damage, but there's a lot of other models that can actually do more damage than that. Now he has something that's called Shadow Form, and this ignores modifiers to his save, kind of like the whole Night Haunt army. So the Night Haunts have a 4+, and he also has a 4+ save, and that can't be modified in any way, so he's going to have a 4+ no matter what. Now he could somehow, perhaps, he does have a ward save of 6+, so maybe you could upgrade that ward, but you can't upgrade the armor at all. He has Deadly, it's called Deadly Trap. You can pick this unit and up to 2 other Slaves of Darkness units within the combat range of the target to be the targets. So within 3 inches of him, essentially. And you roll a dice, and for each target on a 4+, the target has a first strike for the rest of the turn. So that's pretty cool. Once per battle, this is probably one of the most powerful abilities that I've seen, and one of the things that, if used wisely, can really sway or change a battle. Especially for people who do Death Star units. You pick a visible enemy unit to be the target. Until the start of your next turn, each time the target is picked to use an ability, roll a dice as a reaction. On a 3+, the ability has no effect. Now, just so that you understand what that means, the definition of ability is essentially everything that you want to do in Age of Sigmar. You want to move, that's a move ability. You want to shoot, that's a shoot ability. You want to charge, that's a charge ability. You want to run, that's a run ability. All those are abilities. You want to cast a spell, that's a, I don't know, I think that's an ability as well. So they're all all defined as abilities. So basically, he can shut down a big huge unit for one turn during the enemy's turn, and they just have to be visible. So he's like, I guess, controlling. He's the Dark Master is what it's called. It says many puppets dance on Belekor's infernal strings. Few realize as much until their fate is sealed. So he basically makes it so that particular unit for that battle round is going to have a very difficult time doing anything, and so you can take them out of the battle. So if it's a big huge block of cavalry of 10 or whatever, and you want to make it ineffectual for a round, for a turn, you do that, and that makes it so that opponent's force can't. It's going to have difficult charge moving, charging, anything else, and so that really puts it could put the advantage into the Slaves of Darkness side. And then he has a spell called Enfeeble Foe. Pick a visible enemy unit within 18 inches on a 6 until the start of your next turn. Subtract 1 from the hit rolls for the target's combat attacks, and the target's combat attacks cannot score critical hits. Treat them as regular hits instead. And that's basically what he does in Age of Sigmar. He's a really powerful scroll. A lot of the people I've listened to haven't suggested that Slaves of Darkness is the most powerful army currently. I think that goes to Nighthaunt, I think, as far as what everybody's saying. Of course this could change when Nighthaunt's books come out and stuff, and they could change some things. And that's an osprey. So anyway, that is Belekor, and it was kind of fun painting him up. It wasn't really tremendously difficult. Maybe you'll see by looking at him that you would have done it differently, but I think he looks decent enough for the playing field, and I hope to be able to get him on the field. Now, what I'm thinking of doing is, as I paint up Belekor and Chaos Knights and the Chaos Warriors, I probably want to get a game in before I finish up. I think I'll do the Dark Oath last. So in order to do that, I'm probably going to have to bring a Regiment of Renown in. And the Regiment of Renown that I kind of like or want to try is the Maggotkin of Nurgle. I think it's called Shutterblight, which has a Harbinger, which I have painted up, and a unit of Blight Kings, which I've painted up, and then 2 Blight Lords or something like that. Puck Squirrel Blight Lords or something. Yeah, I have that too. So I could take a regiment, as I think it's like 400 and something points, and I just have to make sure that I have 1,500 points. I also want to get a Brexia and the 3 Vanguard that she comes with. So that's kind of one of my goals, probably one of my next Slaves of Darkness purchases. I don't know when I'll put it together or paint it, but that's the next purchase. The thing is I don't know if it makes sense for a Brexia to be in the same army as Belekor. And if, from what I've read, because Belekor and Archaon don't get along, and Abrexia is like the spear of Archaon, I think is what she's called. But I don't know, you play a game, who really cares if you're being accurate to the fluff, except for maybe me. I kind of care about that stuff, but maybe it's not such a big deal. So, and anyway, even if I didn't, I could always bring her separate with her Vanguard unit and, whatever army. So anyway, that's Belekor. I'll go ahead and try to stop him when he gets to the front here. So there is Belekor, and I think I'm finally finished painting him. I'm pretty happy with how he's turned out. Yeah, so I will do another hobby update. I don't know if I'll do it outside because it's starting to get cold now. The leaves are starting to turn and start to fall off the trees, so probably won't do that. And I don't know, my problem is I might move on with this project for a while, and then I get tired of it, and I'll switch to 40K, or I'll switch back to the Ancients and kind of mix things up. So I'm not sure, but I think I'd like to finish the terrain at the very minimum, and the Chaos Knights and the Chaos Warriors, and I don't know about the Dark Oath. those I might put off for a little bit longer. Anyway, thank you for tuning in. This is Old Man Sarge. This was the hobby update for September 2024.